There's more to picking a pen than tip size and how it looks. The kind of ink a pen uses can make or break your writing experience. In this video, we'll talk about the formulas behind different kinds of inks and how to choose the pen that's right for you. If you find this video helpful, make sure to like and subscribe for more content like this. What is ink made of? Ink consists of a colorant that's dissolved in a vehicle or liquid. The vehicle can be water or oil-based. Water-based inks are extremely common and mostly used for writing pens like gel, rollerball, and fountain pens. Oil-based inks can be classified with alcohol-based inks. Ballpoint pens, art markers, and permanent markers usually use these inks. They're typically more water-resistant or waterproof and can write better on slick surfaces. There are two types of colorants: dyes and pigments. Dyes are the most common and they completely dissolve in the liquid they're mixed with. You can find dye-based inks in most rollerballs, ballpoints, fountain pen inks, and some markers. Dyes are generally cheaper than pigments and available in many bright colors. However, most dye-based inks aren't lightfast or waterproof. Pigments are tiny particles of colored material. Since they're much larger than dye particles, they don't dissolve in the vehicle. Pigment-based inks are commonly found in gel pens, low-viscosity ballpoint pens, and waterproof markers. If a pigment-based pen isn't used for a while, the ink can potentially build up and clog the pen tip. You can see this in seemingly dry gel pens. Pigment inks aren't available in as many colors, but they're more likely to be lightfast, waterproof, and opaque. Finally, inks also contain additives that fine-tune their performance. For example, some compounds give an ink the right surface tension to flow through a pen. Others have binders that help color stick to the paper once the liquid evaporates. Now let's get into the different types of pens and the inks they use. Ball pens. Ball pens all use a revolving ball in the pen tip to pick up ink and deposit it onto paper as it rotates. Here are the pens that use this system. Ballpoint pens. Ballpoints use thick, oil-based ink. This means that less ink comes out with each stroke of the pen. As a result, it won't bleed through the page, and refills last longer than gel or rollerball pens. The alcohols in ballpoint ink also help it dry quickly, which makes it great for left-handed writers. Most ballpoints are water-resistant and write well on various surfaces, like glossy paper or cardboard. However, because of the ink's thickness, ballpoints require more pressure to write with and can cause hand strain during long periods of writing. That's why we recommend them for shorter writing sessions. Low-viscosity ballpoint pens, like Uni Jetstream, contain ink that's been formulated to be thinner than standard ballpoint ink. They feel smoother to write with and are less prone to generating blobs. The pen is a nice balance for those who like both ballpoints and gel pens. Gel pens. Gel ink is almost always water-based and colored with pigments. Because of this, gel pens come in a wide and vivid array of colors. At rest, the ink is solid, but it becomes liquid when the ball in the pen tip rotates and moves the gel. It doesn't sink deeply into the page, so it's less likely to feather or bleed. Gel pens write smoothly, though some come in very small tip sizes that can produce significant feedback. Smaller tip sizes and quick-dry gel pens like the Zebra Sarasa Dry are great choices for left-handers. The ink is dye-based and dries almost instantly, so your writing will be smear-free. Overall, gel pens are good for everyday writing, like journaling or note-taking, especially if you enjoy using a variety of colors. Rollerball pens. The term rollerball refers to a pen that uses liquid, water-based ink, but it depends on the manufacturer how the ink is formulated. They're usually dye-based and not permanent, but Uniball rollerballs use pigments for greater staying power. Since they dispense liquid ink, writing with them requires very little pressure. They're good for those who suffer from hand strain. However, they produce wider lines than gel or ballpoint pens as their wet ink spreads out more. They also have more feedback, since the thin ink provides less lubrication between the pen tip and paper. Larger tip sizes, like this 1.5mm Otto Fude ball, feel smoother. Markers. Markers are difficult to classify as they come in various tip types, including bullet, chisel, and even brush, and can use many types of ink. We've categorized them here based on their ink composition. Water-based markers. Water-based markers are extremely common. They work best on paper and are meant for drawing, lettering, and everyday writing. Most are dye-based and come in several colors, so they're useful for color coding, crafting, and art. Some markers, like these vibrant Tombow dual brush pens, allow for color blending, resulting in beautiful watercolor-like effects. Although they are rarer, pigment-based markers like the Sakura Pigma Micron pen also exist. The pens are completely waterproof and perfect for water-based media like watercolors. Permanent markers. There's no set standard to what counts as a permanent marker, but the ink is usually waterproof, light-fast, abrasion-resistant, and less likely to degrade over time. These markers are known for having a strong smell. The classic Sharpie is a familiar example. Permanent markers are generally colored with pigments and contain resins to help the ink stick to the writing surface. Paint markers. Despite the name, not all paint markers use paint, but a thicker, more opaque fluid than typical ink. Because of this, many need to be shaken before use, and their ink takes longer to dry. Most paint markers can be used on paper or other surfaces, but oil-based paint pens work on a larger variety of surfaces, like plastic or metal. They're better for projects like crafts that need to last for a long period of time, as the ink is very difficult to remove once dry. Art markers. Often alcohol-based, art markers typically blend easily and allow for beautiful layering effects. They're usually meant to be used on paper, but will bleed through, so it's best to put a protective piece of plastic, like a shitajiki or writing board, underneath the paper. Alcohol and dye-based art markers, like Copics, are great for making colorful sketches. Over time, the colors will degrade because the dyes are not light-fast. Fountain pen inks. Fountain pens require very little pressure to write due to their smooth, flowing water-based ink, so they're fantastic for those who suffer from hand cramps. Here are two common types of fountain pen inks. Dye-based inks. Most fountain pen inks are dye-based and easy to clean from pens. They come in many colors and are usually highly water-soluble, though this makes them more vulnerable to spills. On the plus side, their water solubility allows them to be used in art to make beautiful ink washes. Try inks like Takeda Jimuki, which features beautiful and subdued colors, and Noodlers, which offers some of the most vivid colors out there, plus other unique ink characteristics. Pigment-based inks. Though it's not as common, some fountain pen inks are made with pigments. These are more likely to be water-resistant or waterproof, but need more frequent pen cleaning to prevent ink from drying out or clogging the feed with particles. Bottles like Kala Nostalgia and Platinum Carbon Black both feature pigment-based ink. What kind of pens or inks do you like to use? Tell us in the comments. You can learn more about pen inks in our blog in the card above. Find all these pens and more at JetPens.com. Thanks for watching! Which pen should I use? Which pen should you use? Which pen should we all collectively as a unit use? These are all great questions.